When I ask our youth today, why should you stand for the national anthem? Too many don't have an answer. Some know why they would kneel, but too few understand why they should stand straight, strong, alert, and with tears in their eyes. This is my reason. I stand for bravery, respect, tolerance, and forgiveness. Presumably, those who take a knee during the national anthem believe that the United States of America is imperfect. So do I, but I stand. For more than 200 years, men and women have known that this was an imperfect country, but they have sacrificed to preserve it anyway. One president, knowing full well how imperfect his country was, gave his life for it. This man trusted in human nature. He believed that if he could just contain slavery's expansion, it would gradually collapse under the weight of its own oppression. But others desired war and left him no choice. So, to preserve an imperfect union, an imperfect leader called imperfect men to fight a particularly imperfect war with weapons that demanded hand to hand combat, mutilated more than it killed, and left the majority dead from sickness and disease. Over the course of a few days at Gettysburg, there were 51,000 casualties dead, wounded, injured, sick, captured, or missing in action. Over the course of the war, our nation saw more than 5% of its 1860 adult male population killed in the line of duty. As a percentage of today's population, this means that in a single battle, there was the equivalent of 500,000 combat casualties. And by the end of the war, every adult male in the combined cities of New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago would be dead. This war opened wounds, some of which haven't healed to this day. Abraham Lincoln thoroughly understood his inadequacies and imperfections. He most likely saw them deep in the questioning eyes of the frightened boys he called to service. Yet the commander in chief actively sought out the soldiers in the field, and his concern for them took its toll. One soldier who marched past his president observed the following. He was on horseback, and his severely plain black citizen's dress set him in bold relief against the crowd of generals in full uniforms. We passed close to him so that he could look into our faces and we into his. None of us, to our dying day, can forget his countenance. He is bearing the burdens of the nation. It is an awful load. It is killing him. He is not long for this world. The soldier continued, concentrated in that one great, strong, yet tender face. The agony of the life or death struggle of the hour was revealed as we had never seen it before. With new understanding, we knew why we were soldiers. And so it was that on that day, two leaders understood each other's imperfections. One sat in command upon a horse, and the other marched by in review. It was just that Lincoln was called to call others into battle. Considering the burdens that so many have borne to preserve this imperfect union, a quarterback is a leader of men in an insignificant game. Still, on the football field, he feels imperfection when he is blindsided because of a missed block. He sees imperfection when a receiver runs the wrong pattern. And he himself displays imperfection when he fumbles a handoff or throws an interception? What if, after every mistake the quarterback makes, the front line takes a knee on the next snap of the ball just to impress his shortcomings upon him? It would not make him a better quarterback, and it would divide the team. True teammates either address or adjust to these deficiencies, these imperfections, to build a more perfect team. Taking a knee before imperfection doesn't accomplish anything. If a person was true and consistent to such a philosophy, it would require him or her to be constantly on their knees, because all organizations, no matter their glorious names or wondrous promises or greatest achievements, are just associations of like-minded beings filled with flaws. But when two human beings accept their imperfection, that they will always fall short of each other's expectations, it empowers them as respectful, humble, and imperfect creations to look into each other's face. There they discover both weakness and strength. And it is our shared strengths, not our common weaknesses, that drive stadiums full of imperfect beings to stand in unity and shed tears over brothers lost in so many wars that we can't even name all the battles, much less give face to all the soldiers now at rest on our behalf. Soldiers are imperfect beings. They are good-hearted and bigoted. They are heroic and fearful. They are giving and selfish. They are noble and they are base. Yet in a time of our country's greatest need, they pushed bayonets through fellow countrymen in the hope of preserving a more perfect union. In the time of our world's greatest need, they struggled ashore on the beaches of a foreign continent to rescue its inhabitants from one who was as perfectly imperfect as we have ever known. They rescued all races, all creeds, and all colors. And to survive as a nation, we will most assuredly require more to die for our children and grandchildren. But our youngsters will even sacrifice their lives for those that take a knee, even though they may see kneeling during the national anthem as a sign of deep disrespect. And our country will continue to produce such selfless men and women because the following defines who we are as a nation. We live in the land of the free, not only because it is the home of the brave, but it is also the home of the respectful, the tolerant, and the forgiving. Taking a knee is an absolute right, but it is absolutely not part of our heritage. You may choose to kneel, but I choose to stand, because we who stand together, we who put aside our individual differences, and we who combine our strengths will always be stronger and closer to perfection than any country where a citizen lacks the freedom to take a knee. The United States of America is the hope of the world because it is still a more perfect union of like-minded imperfections. Yes, every man is imperfect, but there is nothing that brings a single man or woman closer to perfection than when they are prepared to lay down their life for another. We live in peace only so long as the imperfect stand ready to make this most perfect sacrifice. Look into your heart to see your own imperfections, and then look into the faces of those who serve. In their eyes, you will find why they wear a uniform: to protect us, to protect us, their imperfect brethren. And when the national anthem plays, this very imperfect man stands in their honor. And on Memorial Day, I stand for those who, better than any of us, attained perfection.